wonderful humans. Welcome back to Board Game Dads and another designer debut. I am super excited about today's episode because we are joined for the third time on the channel. You're a three-peater now.
Ooh,
Ryan Billingsley of dadsuggest.com. Ryan, thank you so much for coming back on the channel. How are you?
I'm great, Anthony. Thanks for having me. That
Yeah.
reminds me of on SNL. What's it, the Five Timers Club?
Yeah, there you go. There
I
you
get,
go.
yeah, do I get a smoking jacket yet?
Your t-shirt is in the mail.
All right.
So on this broadcast here, Designer Debut, we tend to focus on some new board game designers who have just had maybe their first game come out. And we have a little bit of board game adjacent stuff every once in a while, which is why Ryan is here. So Ryan has been on the channel before, as I mentioned, and I'll put some links down in the descriptions. You can check those out as well. But the really exciting news here is that Ryan's design here is a store, an actual storefront, the
Ooh.
Dad Suggests store. Such a cool concept. I want to hear all about how the store is doing. But before we get to that point, a little bit of background. Can you tell the viewers or listeners here what is dadsuggest.com and how it came to be?
So dadsuggest.com started 4 years ago now. We're getting close to the 5 year anniversary.
Mm.
So we started this website, Dad Suggest, to talk about our favorite family games and our favorite kids books, mostly picture books, but as our kids are getting older, we've been getting more into graphic novels.
Sure.
So it's all about our favorite stuff. Our kids favorite games, our favorite game. A lot of times there's a lot of books I like more than the kids do. I love picture books. But that's the general idea. So it's not really a review site necessarily because there's a lot of subjectivity. It's all of
Yeah.
our favorite. We don't like to write negative things. So if we don't like it, we're just not going to write about it, right?
Right. And I mean, you're pretty clear that's what that's what the site is about. I mean, it's suggestions. So it's obviously you're not going to suggest things that you don't like.
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell me how where did the love of reading start for you? Like, I mean, as a kid, you were an avid reader, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's so when I was little, I really like scary things, and I think a lot of kids about my age probably have the same story. For me, I think it was mostly Goosebumps
Hmm.
that really just really hooked me. I had bunk beds, and I had a bookshelf built in to my bunk bed here. So every night I'd lay my head down to sleep, and there's a row of how 60, however many Goosebumps there were, right. I slept with them right there by my head, and so I like scary things a lot. When we first had our son, who's 10 now, I went up to our attic, my parents' attic, and I pulled down. They kept almost all of my childhood books in these giant plastic buckets, and I pulled them down, and it was really fun going through them. But then I realized a really cool thing was all the picture books that I remembered the most were the ones that scared me. So
Hmm.
anything that had scary pictures in it, I was like, "Oh, I remember that. That's like the best memory of my childhood ever." So 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 for me, it was, I think, spooky things that hooked me on reading.
That's interesting because I think that's a way in some ways I think is a way to cope with the spookiness, right? It's
Yeah.
embracing the fact that it's, fictional, obviously. Um, but yeah, that's a great origin story. And are you a fan of the Goosebumps movies that have come out?
I did like them.
Yeah.
They're Jack Black's pretty great. I think that was a good choice.
Oh
I
yeah, yeah,
think they balanced the spooky and the funny pretty well, I think.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Are your kids into that stuff also?
They are. But they we have to walk a fine line. I have to
Okay.
walk a fine line. Because I want to share all of my favorite scary things, but it's like, are we ready for this one yet, or is this one
Right.
going to give us nightmares? So I'm trying to be as careful as possible. But we do like watching, like, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and reading scary stories together.
Yeah, I think didn't they reboot that show recently, or is that still coming in, or did it happen already?
Yeah, they did
Yeah.
it in a weird way though. I think there's been 3 seasons of the new ones, and it's not what's the word? It's not episodic. It's
Oh,
a season of
okay.
one story.
Gotcha, gotcha.
There's a fancy word for that, but I don't know what it is. But
Yeah,
it's not like 30 minutes encapsulated. It's a whole season telling one story.
got it, got it. Are you a Stranger Things fan?
Yeah, I
Okay.
am. I'm the only one in the house that watches that. That's one of them that I have to binge by myself.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in the same boat. My wife does not like the scary stuff. So that's how you got into, how you kind of fell in love with reading. Where did the board game interest come from for you? Was that something else that you did as a child? Did you play a lot of games with your folks, or?
I did, but nothing compared to the games they're coming out with these days.
Sure.
Some of my earliest memories were playing games like Candyland and like Hi Ho Cheerio and things
Mhm.
like that. And but then there's some that I remember very fondly, which probably ties in with my love of spooky books. Because one of the board games I remember most fondly is 13 Dead End Drive.
Oh yeah.
That's a great game.
That's like that's like everything. They took everything like that was wrong with Mousetrap and made it like a good game, right? Like I
Exactly.
mean,
Yeah,
it's very simple, obviously, but yeah, that's like a really, really good toy factor. And I think they still make that game actually.
yeah. They reprinted it recently, so
Yeah, yeah.
kids get to rediscover how good it is.
That is awesome. Like you said, when you looked at your old books and stuff, and then you kind of gauge when should I introduce this to my child. My kids are younger than yours. My son is 3.5. My daughter's 1.5. But that's something that I think about often. Like all these books and movies and then old TV shows and stuff, and you know I talked to Eric a lot about Charlie Brown specials for holidays and things like that. Can't wait to get that stuff in front of them just to see
Exactly.
what their reaction is. But we have to remember as parents too to kind of like, heed our expectations a little bit, right? Because we don't want to be disappointed if they
They're
don't like something that we liked.
they're not gonna like everything we like.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We
Yeah,
can't take offense because we didn't make it. It's not ours.
it's funny you mentioned Charlie Brown. Funny story. I kid you not. I'm not just Halloween night, 2 nights ago, I was like, "Let's watch It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown." But neither of my kids were into this idea. I turned it on, and my daughter just, like, started bawling, like, "Why is dad making me watch this movie?" I'm like, "Okay, we don't have to watch it."
Oh man, I don't. Oh, that's
Charlie
rough.
Brown is not a
Uh,
winner in this house.
yeah, jeez, man, that is a good story though. That is a good story. But yeah, that's an interesting thing about about being a parent is navigating that kind of stuff. So and yeah, we talked before about having a plant in the audience, and here she is. Here's my wife. She says that's the hard thing. Although I love that AJ, our son, likes some of the books I remember loving as a kid. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure he does, and he goes through his phases as well. Where there's one book that he wants to read every night for like 2 weeks straight, and then he wants nothing to do with it anymore. He's been in a little bit of a like tell me a story phase as opposed to read me a book thing.
Oh,
So
that's fun.
it's hard because sometimes I don't have the creative juices flowing as much as much, and plus sometimes I'm really tired. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, I can't. I'm too tired to think of a plot line for a story about a spider right now. But
That's a
he,
good skill. We everyone needs to work on that skill because it
yeah,
seems I'm not that I don't practice it very much, but I like 3 or 4 years ago we sat around a campfire and I just spitballed some sort of scary story and it seems like both my kids remember it very vividly. So like I think I think that means something. Maybe we need to try that more often.
yeah, I'm sure it has a lot to do with the setting too, right? Like you were
Mhm.
outside the campfire stuff that just sets the scene a little bit more. So do your kids now like do they read independently? Do they read on their own? Do you have to like hound them to read? Do they enjoy it? Do they avoid it? What's the deal?
I think I'm happy to say I think it's still enjoyment. My son's an independent reader now,
Mhm.
and like I said, he's mostly into the graphic novels now. I mentioned before, which is kind of cool because in the store I've kind of put him in charge of the graphic novel section. So I'm
Cool.
which is really fun getting him involved that way. So I think
Yeah.
he'll. I'm gonna get him to write. Like in a bookstore where you write the little notes to put under the books, like a
Yeah.
handwritten recommend. I'm gonna get him to write next to his favorite graphic novels and things like that.
That's cool. Yeah,
So
so that's a great segue because I really want to talk about the store. I mean, when I saw, I think the first time I saw one of your pictures was of just a box full of hobby games, and I was like,
yep. What's
hmm,
going on here?
what's
That
going
was
on here?
a little hint. What's going on? Why would someone need this many games?
Yeah. So tell me about is this an idea that you had for a long time that you finally were able to pull the trigger on? What was the planning process like for that? Because that's really a very unique thing to do, honestly.
So I guess I would say it wasn't a very long time. Honestly, it was something that I always thought would be um, fun to do, but wasn't sure if it was within the realm of possibility.
Sure.
Um, then it all came together pretty quickly. It wasn't a long planning process. So been doing the website for about 4 years.
Mhm.
It was a really natural transition in terms of knowing the market, really having a really firm grasp of what our favorite kids books are and what our favorite family games are. So
Right.
so that wasn't going to be the issue. The issue was the nuts and bolts of the business side of things, how do you
Right.
leases and signing up with all the different publishers and getting sales tax exemption from this, all the nuts and bolts of things that you have to research. Hey, how do you open a bookstore?
Right. Right.
But it all came together really quick when we found the place to do it in, which is kind of like being inside of a mall actually,
Okay.
which was what made it come together really quick. We're like, wait, we got to buy up this space while it's still available.
So
And
is this a new commercial like space
yes,
or what? Okay.
the whole mall is new. So
Okay.
then
Cool.
certain spots the to lease inside of it were going fast.
Right. Right. Right.
So that I think that lit a fire under us when we decided this would be a really good place to do this specific idea. Let's just make it happen.
Hmm. So what was the initial concept like? Did you always want it from the get-go? Was it always going to be books and games, or did you want to go like books for a little while first?
I think it was always going to be books and games.
Okay.
Right there on our logo for the store. It's a little different than our site logo. It says "Dad suggests kids books and games," like right from the start. So that's what I've always wanted to do. Even with the ooh, look at that! I love it. I love those shelves.
That's a cozy little nook there. That's great. Oh man.
That's what I would love to see kids sitting in that. The best thing ever is when I walk up and there's a kid in that teepee. That makes me happy when it's being exactly the way as intended.
Right, right. That's awesome. So how has the reaction been? You've only been open for a couple of weeks, right?
Yes, I think it's been 3 weeks now,
Okay.
and it's been definitely a great experience so far. My favorite thing is gauging the reaction from customers. I love talking to people that come in and discover it, and that's what I want it to be about is discovery of these books and games that you don't see very often. And I've had customers say to me, like verbatim, "Hey, you don't see these books very often." And I'm like, "Yes, thank you."
Right,
That's
right, right.
exactly what I'm going for. Thank you.
Yeah,
And
I mean, there's certainly obviously there's the big chain book things like Barnes and Noble and stuff like that that have, pretty expansive children's, sections in their store.
right,
But it's not the main focus, right? So the fact that this space is dedicated to children and families, is definitely I think a draw.
right. I hope so. The and then on top of that, what I hope helps is the curation aspects.
Mhm.
The Obviously very similar to what we do on the website, and that's why it was such a natural transition. Is what are our favorite books?
Right.
What are our favorite games? Those are the ones we're going to carry. We don't want to talk to a customer about a book we don't like, right? We're
Right,
like, "What do you think about this one?" "No, I don't like that one."
right.
That would be weird.
Or
So, I
something you
think
don't even know about, right? Like, you're not gonna carry a game that that you haven't played. I mean, that's just
exactly,
that
yeah,
doesn't make
and
sense.
the same with the books too. I mean, I can honestly say when I'm talking to a customer, like, "We have all these books, like,
Right.
we love all these books, that's why they're here."
Was there any, like, pushback at all from any of the publishers that you reached out to or anything like that? Like, was there any unexpected pushback?
No, not the publishers have been really, really great.
That's good, that's great.
Some are quicker than others,
Sure, well, yeah.
but once I get someone on the phone or in an email, everyone in both the book world and the game world have been really delightful to chat with, which is nice to see.
Well, how do you make the cut, right? Because you only have a certain amount of space.
That's true.
Was it tough to decide on what titles to carry?
Maybe when you put it that way, it makes sense, but really, it wasn't that hard, honestly, because like we have this um, really clear idea of our favorites, and
Right.
eventually we might run out of space and have to make some tough decisions. But we already have what roughly I think if we have more than 500 different kids books in the store already, and
Wow.
probably more than 100 different family games in the store already.
Hmm.
And they're all and at up to this point, it was really easy and fun too because you make the accounts. This is the best, like Christmas. You make the accounts. It's like all the publishers, all the big book publishers, and our favorite family game publishers, and then you get the catalogs, and you're like, okay, we're ready for. I want this one and this one, this one, this one. It's like just pointing and picking and writing down your favorites, and that's great. Or going
Yeah.
to our the easiest way to do our shopping is to go to our shelves and look at our picture book shelves and be like, yeah, we need to carry that one and that one and that one. We're just literally our favorite things.
Right.
So it's fun. So far, it hasn't been hard. I think it'll when we actually run out of physical space, it'll be tricky. It's like which one do we take off the shelf to make way for this
Sure.
new good one?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing too. Now that you're running a business, you're gonna start to pay attention to sales and trends and things like that. You're gonna see what moves and what doesn't.
Right.
So, this is a really it's awesome that you're doing it. It's awesome that your kids are gonna be involved as well, right? Because they're also now witnessing, building a business from the ground up. Um, taking something that you're passionate about and trying to use it to, make a living
Mhm.
to an extent. So what does your day look like? Are you at the store like every day?
Not every day, but the times that just in the 3 weeks that we've been open, the times that are clearly going to be when I can talk to the most customers is when I'm
Right.
going to be there. So Saturdays and Fridays for sure are the days that I really want to talk to the customers. But so then a lot of my day is checking on all of the different orders that are out there right now.
Right.
It's a lot for me to learn because it all happened really fast. And especially, I suppose it'll slow down. All the pro bookstore owners out there probably know, but it feels to me like it's going to slow down because I have a lot of large initial orders all
Mm,
happening at once,
right, right,
and
right.
I'm at least I hope that it'll slow down a little bit with keeping track of all the different boxes all at once.
And to your point, you're kind of mirroring your favorite stuff and what you do on the website, and you have a lot of things on the website, like your dad's bookshelf for the month and what's going on in the house. So, you like plan on rotating that kind of stuff in the store too? Like you're changing up displays for seasons and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. So that picture you put up before, the picture bookshelves that go across the wall,
Oh yeah, I'll put that back
every time I walk into the store, I'm swapping that around. Just
up.
just every single time. Just so that's just where that's the first thing you see when you walk into the store.
Okay.
And it's just the place to put our favorite books. Just when someone walks in for the first time, that'll that'll be there to greet them and say, here are the kind of books we have. Hopefully, maybe they think these are beautiful. This isn't something we see very often,
Right.
and also for someone that comes back, I want it to be different. So there's a lot of books over on the shelves over on the other side that aren't front facing, and I like to swap those out.
Yeah. Have you had any repeat customers yet?
Yeah, a few. Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
It's that's the goal. It feels like, I mean, this is my first experience with how important word of mouth is,
Sure.
right? In a for a local independent business, social media is huge. But I'm really starting to realize how important word of mouth is when people come in for the first time and say, "I had no idea this was here. I'm
Right.
going to tell my friends." I think that's the gold right there. Is, oh, thank you. That's couldn't be better than, "I'm going to tell my friends."
Yeah, no, absolutely. And ideally, with the holiday season really upon us right now, I mean, I would hope that you'd have a little bit of action there too, and especially when it comes to recommending stuff. I mean, uh, family members of mine are always asking me what I should get for XYZ aged kid in terms of games.
Yeah,
That's a great opportunity for, like you said, for you to showcase some stuff that you have experienced before that are your favorites because they work. Right, you're
exactly.
not kinda, like, speculating, and I've said this before, that's the awesome thing about the board game hobby is that if you have any interest in anything at all, even slightly,
Hmm.
there's a game for you, and I think for sure the same can be said for books. If you're interested at all in anything, there's gonna be a book out there for you, especially nonfiction stuff, which, obviously talk about, you were talking about spooky stuff.
Yeah,
When I was a second grade teacher, one of the most popular, buckets of books that got pulled out the most was a lot of the nonfiction stuff, especially about ancient things, right? Like the mummies, that was like these kind of gory, gruesome looking pictures, but they were real,
right.
and that was a draw for a lot of young folks for sure.
Yeah, that's a cool reminder that kids get into reading for all sorts of different reasons.
Exactly, exactly. And I know we mentioned this before, one of the other times you were on the program, but it saddens us to see anything in the news where, and I feel like librarians are really taking the hard hits on this right now about what books they can have and what books they can't display and things like that. And it's just, I remember you saying, this is not specific quote, but how could you take away something that a child like loves so much that's not hurting anybody, right? I mean,
Right.
this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that reminds me of, yeah, which especially when that reminds me of a conversation I just had recently with a really cool kid, and it reminded me of the fact that so many well-intentioned librarians and parents and teachers accidentally say something along the lines of, "That's not a real book."
Right.
Do you remember that conversation?
Yep. Yep.
That breaks my heart every time, and I think that leads a lot of kids into saying they don't like reading
Yeah.
because they the some of the adults around them are changing what the definition of reading is. Does
Right.
that make sense? So then they think when they say, "I hate reading," they mean, "I hate the reading they're making me do in school."
Right.
But I was talking to this really cool kid recently, and his dad said, "Oh, I wish I could get him to love reading, but this is my guy who hates reading." And I was like, "Oh man, well that stinks. I don't like hearing that." But we kept talking, and then he started mentioning all these books he does like to read, and I was like, they have the Animorphs graphic novels now. He's like, "Yeah, I've seen those in school. Those are really good." And when I go back and then at the end of he's like, "I'm going to go back in the car and read some Calvin and Hobbes. I got in the car, the old comic strip." I'm like,
Nice.
"Yeah, sounds to me like you like reading."
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's a different definition for everybody. It comes in many different forms. And I think, again, you mentioned the graphic novels. I feel like that's something that's finally getting a little more acceptance, so to speak, in terms of mainstream. And I've seen, because I don't teach anymore, but I still do after school programs in many different schools. And a lot of times kids just they have their backpacks obviously, and they have all kinds of different books. And I was talking to a fourth or fifth grader the other day, who's had a graphic novel. I forget what the name of the series was, but I mean, he went on this rant and told me all about, like, from volume one and what was going on and what these characters were doing. It was just like, oh man, I would have loved to have had this stuff when I was younger. I mean, I was a fan of reading as well, but there was not really a graphic novel thing, at least not that I was exposed to. Eric was a huge comic book person, still is, and
Yeah.
I saw that time to time, but it's definitely taken it up a notch
Oh yeah.
recently for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So
So, in your household currently,
yeah.
what is what's the family game of choice? What's been getting to the table?
Well, the most recent one that I thought was really cool was, well, so our daughter's 6, and so it's really cool to me when we get into games that we loved with our son, but our daughter wasn't old enough to join in yet, but now
Right.
she is. So there's some great classics for around that age, like Outfoxed. I like that game a lot.
Yeah.
But one that we just recently got in is a new hobby game that we just made it our game of the month. It's called Flotsam Float, and
Oh,
it's
okay. It's another stacking thing, right?
yeah, exactly. So they got a lot of popular stacking games, but
Yeah.
this one is really cool, and it's so fun to see young kids like my daughter with their doing a dexterity game with their little hands. And this one, you don't just stack the little wooden pieces. You actually have to, like, pick up the whole tower and move it somewhere else and put it down safely. It's like,
Oh man.
"Whoa." And she's better at that game than I am, which is fun. She's and my hands are, like, shaking
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the whole time.
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, Hava's got, obviously, they're I mean, they're the first name that always comes to mind when
Yeah.
people ask for recommendations for, first games for people that are pretty young.
Do you see them very often around in stores near you?
Hava games?
Yeah.
Not really. Not
Yeah, that's
really.
that's what I realized after opening the store. That's part of what I'm so excited about,
Yeah.
is I don't understand, not even in some of the big retailers. Why
I don't
won't
think I've ever seen a Hava game in like a Barnes& and Noble or a
Yeah,
Target or anything
what's up
like
with
that.
that? They
Nah.
they got good games there. Why would they It's weird to me because, like you said, I feel like they're the very best games for
Oh,
young.
oh yeah.
Why So I'm excited about sharing those. If no one else is gonna tell people about them, I'll tell people about 'em.
Yeah, and I mean, you're, like anybody else who falls into the hobby at first, you're going to blow some people's minds when they start to
Right.
see how many options are out there, especially for young folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see them a lot in stores, which is, it's funny because when I go to like a convention like PAX Unplugged, which is coming up in Philly in December, and hobby, I mean, it's just, it's yellow everywhere, and it's just
Yeah.
like, you are drawn to it, and there's always games there that I've never heard of still.
Yeah.
And we try to pick up one or two each year for my son. And yeah, like you said, I'm excited for the 5, 6 year old stage. I think it'll really become more of a let's sit down and play a game thing.
I think that's the
Because
sweet spot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Because, like, he has a few games and he does know how to play them. But there's many times where he just wants to take it out and kind of, like, just play with it, which is fine. I mean, it's games are toys. They are meant to be played with. But I can't wait for us to, like, really
Yeah.
play a game, like, by the rules the right way.
Do
Um,
you have any that you're waiting to play that for that age?
I would love to play Outfoxed. That's just,
Yeah.
I mean, uh, for a
That's a
kids
great
game to teach deduction that way and
Yeah.
have such a cool toy factor as well with that little, decoder revealer thingy is just really cool. And then
Yeah.
the other one that Eric and I have talked about a lot is Cora Quest, designed by Dan Hughes. He designed that with his daughter back when the kind of the lockdown first happened, and it's a family friendly dungeon crawl
Mm,
with all the artwork is from children. So all the artwork
like that.
is sourced from like hundreds of kids. And then the art director on the game, he really, I think Dan called him the head colorer inner, where he really didn't change many of the pictures. Like he just kind of like added, color and some shadowing and things like that. But I asked him the one time, I was like, "Did you get any bad pictures?" And he was like, "No, none of them are bad because they're from children, and we were able to use them all." And they just are currently on Kickstarter now. Their expansion is out, so a little plug to Dan for that as well. But yeah, AJ's probably. I'm looking at his little corner shelf here. He likes recently he's been playing this Vroom Vroom game a lot, which is from Blue Orange Games.
Yeah.
It's a snail race thing.
Oh, those are fun.
And
Race.
again, he just likes to set up the track sometimes and move the
Yeah.
move the pieces around, which is awesome.
You know what? Are you familiar with Loki?
No.
Loki, that's what look into the publisher Loki. They kind of like Haba, they kind of have a distinctive color. A lot of them are turquoise boxes.
Oh, cool.
And it feels to me like they're specializing, at least my favorites of theirs are in that 5, 6, 7 year old range. And there's one that's like a tower defense game for that age, which is
Oh,
really fun.
cool.
And they have deduction games too, but yeah, it's kind of like Haba. It's kind of a funny parallel because Haba's got yellow, Loki's got turquoise. They're two of our favorite publishers in kids games, and you never see either of them in stores. And it's like,
Yeah.
what are people doing?
Well, so Haba's based out of Germany. Where's Loki? Is it overseas as well? Do you know?
I think the France is home base.
Yep. There you have it. That'll
Yeah,
do
I
it.
guess that explains everything.
Yeah. Wow. Hey man, hopefully you are the ambassador that we need right now for those kind of things. So congratulations again on opening the store. I'm just in awe of it. It's an amazing thing.
Thank you so much.
So before we kind of wrap things up here, if anyone has ever watched a designer debut before, you do not get to leave until you answer a few trivia questions.
Uh-oh. I did.
So I always try to to try to tailor them as best I can to the guest. And so I struggled with what to do for you because there you like a lot of stuff, and at first I was going to do some Princess Bride trivia,
Ooh.
and maybe even some Harry Potter, but so I went a little bit of a different route here.
Oh no.
So basically, what I have
Princess
here,
Bride.
so what I have here is I have the opening line or lines to several classic children's books,
Ooh.
and you're going to tell me what the name of that book is, and we'll see how many of them you get
Okay,
correct.
well, that's a lot of pressure.
It is, but
They
it's
better be spooky books.
uh,
Oh, that's
mm, one of them is,
Hey, okay.
and but, you could argue that three or four of them are. There's no goosebumps though. I'll throw that out
Okay, line from the Goosebumps.
there.
I can do it. All right, I'm
All
ready.
right, there we go. All right, number one. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf.
The Very Hungry Caterpillar.
That is correct. I knew you were gonna be
Hey,
good at this. I knew you were gonna be
all
good
right.
at this.
1 for 1.
All right, one for one. Next up,
Okay.
where's Papa going with that axe?
Ooh.
I did not know this. I mean, I knew it because I looked it up, but it didn't ring a bell. I'll be honest.
Where is Papa going with that X? I know I've heard this one before. Is it a picture book?
No, it's more of it's a novel,
Okay. Is
I
it
think.
Old Yeller?
No, good
No.
guess though.
Where is Papa going with that X?
Oh,
I
good
know I know
gun.
this. It's not. It's. Where is he going with that X? You tell me.
I don't know where he was going with that axe, but I'll give you a hint that
Okay.
the title of the book is one of the characters, but not the one that you probably would think of.
Oh, right. Is it Charlotte's Web?
It is Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, I knew I heard that
There
before.
you go. I don't know where he was going with the axe though. That like I read that line, I was like, I don't remember what that part is about. I mean, obviously, I haven't read that book in many years, but all right. So you got the endorsement from my wife here. She looked up some Loki games in the other room, and she said they look awesome. So
I
I think
I
those
definitely
might make
recommend
it to the Christmas list there.
I definitely recommend them. Let me know if you have any questions about them.
Awesome, awesome. All right, question number 3. In an old house in Paris that was covered with vines
Oh, yeah.
lived 12 little girls in two
Madeline.
straight lines. You got to finish that one.
It rhymes already.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Madeline.
All right, this is one that I
Wait,
remember.
that reminds me, before you get
Yeah,
to the next question,
good.
what is that? Madeline, someone has their appendectomy. That's the most famous appendectomy in picture books.
Oh yeah.
And then all the other girls are jealous because one of them gets an appendectomy. The great that's the basically the plot of Madeline right there. There you
That's
go.
crazy. All right, this is more of a maybe like a young adult book. I definitely read this one, but I don't remember what grade I was in, but I did enjoy it.
Okay.
There is no lake at Camp Green Lake.
I'm stumped.
So Camp Green Lake, I believe, was the name of the institution that these children were at, and they were basically forced to do manual labor.
Is it holes?
Yeah, yeah,
Good. The
yeah.
hints help me. The hints help.
All right. Next up, once upon a time, there was a pair of pants.
Once upon a time, there was a pair of
I
pants.
had to include this one because I thought it was funny. I've never read this book before. I mean, I've heard of it, but I never read it. I believe it was made into a movie as well. Probably more of a preteen girl focus like audience.
Okay. That hint helped.
Mm,
I haven't read this one, but it must be the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
that is correct. Yeah, I know nothing about the story besides that there's pants, to be honest.
That's a good title. I'll give him that. I haven't read it.
All right, all right. So let's see. You got you got them all right after some hints. You didn't like
Kind of.
completely stump anything.
Kind of got it right.
All right, we're halfway there. We're halfway there.
Okay. This is
I
fun.
think this one I think is going to be easy for you. And then
Okay.
I think
Oh, don't say that. Then I get then I'm
yeah,
embarrassed.
yeah. All right, here we go. First of all, let me get something straight. This is a journal, not a diary.
Oh yeah, you were right. My son really likes those. The Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
There's a ton of those now, right?
There are, and they made they made a live action one he likes to
Yep.
watch, and they made a new cartoon one, and there's a book.
Another like interesting the way that that book is made is interesting, right? It's
Yeah,
kind of like half picture book, half novel, kind of comic booky.
true. I like those, and we like those. When my son and I like doing books like it was a good transition. All those kinds of books that they're like chapter books, but there's tons of pictures. That
Right.
we like those combinations.
Yeah, I think it definitely makes the task of reading the book feel a little, you know, less daunting, I guess, than a straight up just
Yeah,
words.
that's true. I can see that. Especially there's a psychological thing when you turn.
Yeah.
That reminds me of learning, like when you look at a page and it's not broken up into many paragraphs, then psychologically you're like, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. Yeah. And similarly, I feel the same way about rule books for games sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, you open it up, you're like, nah, not
Give me
today.
one sentence at a time, please.
Yeah, really.
Then give me a picture.
All right, this one is very well known, but I didn't know that this is what it was from.
Okay.
It was a dark and stormy night.
Oh, I know this. I can do this. It's oh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
It's really popular. I mean, I tried to pick popular ones, obviously.
Oh,
Ooh, I
they
think I
just did that.
got you on this one.
No, I know it. They did the big Disney remake recently. The
Yes, they did. They did
Wrinkle in Time.
indeed.
A
Yeah,
Wrinkle in
there you go.
Yeah, I knew it. I'm proud of that one.
There you go.
That's a great first line.
Yeah, yeah. That's like, I mean, that's the thing, right? It kind of like transcended that, and I forgot that it was from that because I feel like it's been used as a pop culture reference point for
Yeah.
many other
Is it
things.
When you were looking these up, did it say that was the first time ever?
I don't
I'm
know
sure someone
actually.
said
I
it
didn't
before. I
see
don't
that.
know.
It
But
probably was. That's an
but it
older
was
book.
but it's fun. I mean, I definitely remembered that's how that book we read it to the kids recently, maybe that's how, but
Mm,
it is it's a great book. Big storm at the beginning.
yeah.
That's that's I love that little kid too. When he comes down to make he's the first one up and has already made tea for his mom and sister
Yeah.
because they'd wake up too. That's great.
If only.
Yeah.
All right, we got three more here. Next up, my dad and I live in an airport. I think this was also made into a movie at some point.
Dad and I live in an airport. Nah, I can't get it without a hint. I'm stumped without a hint.
I don't know how to give you a hint about this
Live
one.
in an airport. Why are they doing? Oh,
Well, what do airplanes do?
what? What'd you say?
Fly. What do airplanes do? This one is Fly Away Home.
Oh, well, that I haven't read that one, but I do like that movie.
Okay,
Is
okay.
that is it the same as the movie? Is it about raising ducks? I like that one.
Maybe? I have no idea.
That might be. That's a great one. A classic. It's a classic movie, at least.
All right, two more here.
All right.
Once there were four children whose names were Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy.
The Chronicles of Narnia.
Yeah,
Which one?
the first one. Yeah,
The
yeah.
first one.
Also
That
made
makes
into a
sense.
movie.
Those are
I
great too.
wonder, I think, did they ever make a Holes movie? No, right? Maybe they did.
Yes. Yeah, that had Shia LaBeouf in it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, last one. This is this should have been first because I feel like this is gonna be a softball for you.
Good. Good way to end it. On a high note.
Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number four Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much.
That's a great first line. Harry Potter. So that makes me think when someone knows they have solid gold on their hand, like she did, she probably put a lot. They probably an author must spend a lot of time on that first line, don't you think?
Yeah, I would imagine.
They're gonna say like, this is gonna. She probably knew she was sitting on solid gold once this idea. This is a great idea. So how much time do you think you spend on that first line? I
Yeah, there's a lot of backspacing and starting over again. I'm thinking.
think that's good. Thank you very much. That's
Thank
a
you
good
very
line. I
much.
like it.
Well, Ryan, thank you very much for hanging out with me again here and chatting about our childhood and board games and kids' books. If you are in the area of Fayetteville, Arkansas, please go check out Ryan's store, Dad Suggests. And what is the name of the mall complex that it's in?
It's inside of the shops at Brick City in Evelyn Hills is the area in
Got it.
Fayetteville.
Cool. Well, listen, man, I wish you all the best of luck. I hope you guys have a very successful first couple months and that you roll into the new year. I think you got a really good plan there, and yeah, just I'm very excited for you. I'll say that.
Thank you, Anthony. Thanks for having me on Board Game Dads again too.
Anytime, man. Anytime you'll be back, I'm sure. Folks, if you're watching this after the fact and you have any questions for Ryan about his favorite books or favorite games or heck, even about starting a business, you can leave them in the comments and I'll be sure to let him know. And he'll be checking them periodically because, he's obsessed with stuff like I am. So he's going to see if anybody comments on this. All right, humans, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Ryan, I will see you very soon and have a good night, everyone. Goodbye.